And the Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game one.
All right, really, nobody prayed for the Indiana Fever. ESPN experts dismissed them outright. The odds makers were essentially giggling. Even the Las Vegas Aces, the two-time champs, anticipated a complete sweep. However, the Fever completely shocked everyone by winning Game 1 on the A's home court the night their star A'ja Wilson was named MVP. How, therefore, did a team that was missing 6 players turn the tide of the entire series with a single victory? What did Caitlin Clark say to her teammates following the game that has the league in a frenzy? This wasn't just any random upset, so stay with us. The statement was seismic. Tell us how proud you are of this amazing team in the comment section if you're as excited about the Fever as we are. What, therefore, occurs when a club enters the playoffs with 6 important players out, no pundits giving them a genuine chance, and the two-time defending champions poised to strike? You now have the Indiana Fever's ultimate test of belief. Despite all odds, a night that was actually supposed to be someone else's coronation ended up becoming their unforgettable event.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever, Game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just Game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together.
Okay.
Because my spidey sense is telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not going to lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
Everyone framed this series as a complete mismatch right away, don't they? Sports books had odds so wildly skewed that it was virtually simpler to wager on how many points Las Vegas would win by than on Indiana actually winning a series, and ESPN panels essentially referred to it as short and predictable. It was even blatantly obvious in the headlines prior to the game. They discussed survival rather than triumph. The implicit message was very clear. The Aces were just supposed to glide to another finals. In some way, Indiana's escape from complete humiliation would qualify as a victory in and of itself.
Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade, and yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA play.
The injury report followed, as if that weren't enough. A ruthless roster that has Sydney Cusson, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, Dyrus Dantas, Caitlin Clark, Sideline, and Sophie Cunningham out. All 6 names have been removed. The Fever didn't only appear to be lacking a few players. They appeared to be a cohesive unit held up by sheer duct tape. This was far more than only being the underdogs. Before the playoffs had started, people were referring to them as fortunate to be on the court at all, as though their season had already unofficially ended.
And then the coaching of Stephanie White. She is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face the
Imagine this sight just before tip-off in Las Vegas. With championship banners flying high and the audience energized and anticipating a huge celebration, Wilson Center Court will be awarded with her MVP trophy during the main event. This went beyond merely praising her extraordinary brilliance. It represented the whole story that everyone had anticipated. Indiana was reduced to a supporting role, while Vegas was the undisputed superpower. In their own semi-final debut, the players of the Fever weren't simply disregarded. They were essentially undetectable.
Actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the releases yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
The strange thing about sports, though, is this. When expectations are at their most inflexible, they have this amazing ability to alter the narrative. Consider all of history's memorable underdog runs. Before they ever set foot on the court, teams were dismissed. Teams that nobody believed should be on the same floor. Right here, you could sense those precise comparisons developing. This was more than just a playoff series beginning. Game 1 was Indiana's one and only opportunity to take a seat at the table and make it clear they were here to fight. And that whole pre-written story completely fell apart by the last buzzer. The focus on A.J. Wilson's MVP moment abruptly shifted as the Fever took full control of it. The entire basketball world was in complete shock when they left Las Vegas with an 8,973 victory, their first semifinal triumph in nearly 10 years. However, the team as a whole wasn't the only one who shocked. It originated with a single player who transformed that evening into her own unique masterpiece.
Respect everyone, fear no one. Woo! Sounds in the chat. Oh! Dub. That's one. That's big time. That's big.
Even though everyone was watching A'ja Wilson win the MVP award, no one, expected Kelsey Mitchell to come along and dramatically change the course of events. Wilson's night was the planned event. The reigning champions go about their home business with ease. Before the ball ever tipped, the story was neatly pegged. However, Mitchell was adamant about making Indiana more than a passing reference. She created her own unique masterpiece out of that semifinal opener. Additionally, the league-wide dialogue had already drastically changed by the time the final buzzer sounded.
Semi-final appearance. Just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. It's practice. Trying to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main thing.
Without a doubt, Chelsea Mitchell has long been regarded as a top scorer. But let's face it, she is frequently referred to as a bit of an afterthought behind some of the WNBA's more well-known and ostentatious players. All of the talk going into this series was about whether Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray would really crush the Fever, whether A'ja Wilson would maintain her dominance, or even if Indiana could just stay on the floor. Mitchell was the only player mentioned as having the ability to completely change this contest. However, she provided the ideal response by letting her game speak for itself, speaking louder than any expectations or rumors about her, as she has done for a large portion of her career.
Younger self.
Yeah.
How would you explain to her to make sure that you give yourself grace and give you the flowers that you so willingly deserve?
Ooh, I think the best thing I could have done was, I had a long list. I wrote down a list of all the times I could have quit, been a pro, playing with the Indiana Fever. I wrote down all the people that wrote me off. I wrote it down on a list. I wrote down all the coaches that didn't want me around. I wrote down all the media outlets that didn't want to talk to me. I think that within itself is like, you got to tell your younger self not to give up on you. Because it's been a lot of times I could have given up when I know a lot of people that talk to me now weren't talking to me. And I know what it was like when they wasn't. So that part is big for me.
Mitchell did more than simply score. She scored in just about every way you could think of. While fighting past screens, she was performing mid-range pull-ups while wearing defenders all over her. Then, if the Aces afforded her even a moment's room, she hammered deep threes. She finished with a perfect 6 for 6 from the line, hitting every single free throw. She appeared completely indestructible from the inside out and everywhere else. She scored an incredible 34 points on 12 for 23 field goals, 4 for 6 three-pointers from beyond the arc, and kept up her perfect record at the charity stripe by the time the final box score was announced. Not only was it effective, but it was unrelenting.
time keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
Mitchell's 34-point burst wasn't merely a significant performance. It was truly unprecedented. Since 2012, no player for the Fever had scored more over 30 points in a postseason game. And here's the thing. Nobody in WNBA history has ever dropped that many during their debut in the semifinals. Mitchell's performance now truly belongs with the likes of Cynthia Cooper and Lauren Jackson. But because she broke their record, it actually takes things a step further. Take a moment to consider that. She will face the defending champs in her postseason debut at this high level. All the while, an MVP celebration was the center of attention. In the record books, she entirely carved out her own name.
Done that. 5-point advantage for Indy. Trying to go inside. Terrific defense by Mitchell to deny Lloyd. It's Mitchell, guarded by Evans. Screen from Turner. Kelsey Mitchell knocks down another shot.
No one is accountable for Hall.
Mitchell, come on.
And what do you know? Even Caitlin Clark, who was observing from the sidelines, was struck by how powerful that performance was. Despite being sidelined by injury, Clark's response was straightforward but immensely potent. 2 words went viral on social media. Unreal Kelsey. Pure, unadulterated respect from the sophomore sensation to the seasoned veteran who really carried them when it counted most. No fancy words, no overanalyzing. It was an unmistakable indication of how much Mitchell is valued by this group and how much her teammates appreciate her contributions.
I'm going to step up, and how can the Aces find an edge?
Another good cut to the basket, this time by Turner.
The Las Vegas Aces are running out of time because the Indiana Fever making passes with... That's right.
Boston. Triple team, kicks it out. Kelsey Mitchell.
After the game, even Aces head coach Becky Hammond, who isn't one to give out compliments lightly, had to acknowledge that they had no response for Mitchell. That acknowledgement by itself only served to highlight how thoroughly she dominated almost every single item that evening. This was no accident. It wasn't a chance occurrence. This was Mitchell's finest moment, demonstrating unequivocally that she should be included in every discussion on the league's most dangerous guards.